Hey everybody, I've made another paint along for you, and today's paint along is all about blending color. I'm going to be showing you which colors blend together, which ones are compatible, which ones aren't compatible, and I'll be showing you a few techniques for how you can make a smooth blend between colors. We're going to be focusing on the warm colors today. Blue is a cool color, but we're really going to be focusing on these oranges, yellows, pinks, and purples to keep a warm sky. And then what's fun about today's paint along is once the background is done, you can be really creative with what you put in the foreground. We're going to grab some black paint and create a silhouette that is interesting to you. So for this one I just put a little hiker with his dog on a hill, but you could do an animal. This is a mummy and baby elephant, so that's kind of fun. In this one I just started to the beginnings of a tree. I could still add maybe some people walking here, some birds in the sky. So this is a pretty open painting. I'll be demoing the blending of the background, and then you can be creative with the foreground. So we are going to start with a list of the materials that you're going to need for the painting. So here's what you're going to need for the painting. We're going to start with a small canvas, and we've got our paints. Again, these are acrylics that I pick up from Dollarama. It's a really good brand considering that it's from Dollarama. So our colors that we're going to be working with today is a light blue. This is a tropical blue. Then we're going to move on to a lavender. So this is not a dark purple, it's a lighter purple. That's important. Then we're moving on to a pink, followed by orange and yellow. So these are the colors that I'll be demoing with. Obviously, if you have something different at home, you could probably make do and figure your own color scheme out. But this is what we're going to be using today. So in addition to the painting canvas, we need a large brush for the background. We need a small brush for the silhouette details in the foreground. I always like to draw with chalk when I get to that stage. So if you've got chalk, you can use that. If you don't have chalk, a pencil will be fine. I use disposable plates as a palette, but again, you can use a regular dinner plate. Just wash it when you're done and it will be fine to eat off later because it's non-toxic, this paint, so that should be fine. So those are all the materials that we'll be working with today. You can gather those and I will meet you back to start the painting. So before we start trying to blend, we need to talk for just a minute about the color wheel. So the color wheel is the way that we organize colors, and it's in a circle because each color is connected to the color before and behind it, so it works better as a circle than it would as a line. Now what's interesting about the color wheel is if a color has a color next to it, that means those two colors are related to each other. So let's just have a look at our orange and the red that's beside it. So the reason these two are related is because orange and red both are made of red. So orange has red in it. So obviously when we want to mix, we can mix red and orange successfully because they will blend together because they're related to each other. So let's have a look at how that works. So I put some red on my palette and some orange on my palette. I'll just put a little patch of red here. And watch what happens when I try to blend orange into it. Because orange and red are so closely related to each other, you get a really beautiful blend. So do you see how that transition occurs very easily? So if I try to blend my orange into a yellow paint, that is also going to work really well. See how easily that goes with that transition. So very simple because orange is made of yellow. That's why that works. So what comes next after yellow on the color wheel? That's right, it's green. So let's see if we can introduce green into this yellow and see how that blends. And again, it's going to blend really nicely because green is made of yellow. So as you go around the color wheel, you can blend any color that's related to the color beside it. Let's see what happens if we take colors that are not related. So have a look at your red. And if we go all the way across the color wheel, you're going to find green on the other side. So green and red are completely unrelated. There's nothing in common between green and red. So if we were to try to blend green and red, it would not work. So I've put down my red. Now I'm going to try throw some green in it. So watch what happens. The two colors are not related, and you end up with what artists like to call mud. So it's sort of a brown, gross, sick color. And do you notice how I'm trying to get them to blend seamlessly, but it's not working? Like they're still trying to maintain their own properties. They're not trying to blend nicely together, and this is just turning out really yucky. So what we want to do is only try to blend colors in the order that you see them on the color wheel, and that usually turns out really nice for you. So now that we know a little bit about color theory and blending, let's begin our painting. So I've laid out my palette in the order that I'm going to be putting the colors onto the painting. Just ignore this stuff over here. That's what we used for the last demo. So you'll see the colors are following the order of the color wheel. So we've got blue to purple, purple to red, but this is pink, so it's okay to tint a color and it's still going to work. So pink is just the same as red. So that will work just fine. Red to orange, orange to yellow. I'm just going to put a bit of a line here because yellow is where we're going to stop. So just ignore these colors over here. So let's start at the top with our blue. And if you follow along, this is a really great practice piece for learning how to blend colors really well. So we always start across the top by a solid blue. So this is just a strip of blue across the top. Like that. So that's our solid zone. Now we're going to do what I like to call a blend zone. We're going to create a stripe under here that will be a combination of blue and purple. So let's take a scoop of blue and a scoop of purple. Blend them together. And we'll use that color right underneath the blue. So because purple is made from blue, we know that these colors are related to each other, and we know that they're going to blend smoothly. So once you've applied your stripe, always sweep over the line so that it goes away. You don't really want lines or stripes in your sky. So to do that, it's best to make sure there's not a lot of paint left on your brush. Sometimes I like to roll it off on my plate. You can also, if you have a paper towel nearby, it helps to wipe your brush down. So when your brush has been wiped nice and dry, that makes it much easier to create a seamless blend by sweeping over the line. And just keep manipulating that paint until you don't have a line left in the sky. So we've done our pure blue, we've done our blend zone, and now we're going to do pure purple, which comes right underneath. So a stripe of purple right underneath the purple-blue combination. Just like that. And if you've got a line in the sky, wipe your brush and blend that away so it's nice and smooth. So by now we've done 3 steps. We've done pure blue, blue-purple mix, pure purple. So the next step is going to be a purple-pink mix. So take equal amounts of each, swirl those around, and apply that underneath. Just like that. And again, if you've got a stripe, wipe your brush and sweep away the stripe. You don't want stripes in your sky. Alright, so some of you might be able to guess what's coming next. We've done pure purple, pure blue, blue-purple mix, pure purple, purple-pink mix. So the next step is going to be pure pink. So let's put that on there. So by the end of this stripe, you should be about halfway down your canvas. Say you're still up here. Don't worry about that. Just make your pink stripe a lot wider so that you're down at in the center of your canvas. So I'm blending away the line, and I'll just add a bit more pink so that I know I'm well into the second half of the painting. Alright, so I don't have a lot of paint left on my brush, which is a good thing. As you go along, if you find, say you're getting lots of blue mixing in here, what you need to do is take a bit of a break and just wipe your brush dry. Wipe it nice and clean. You don't have to wash it in your sink, but a good wipe will really go a long way. Okay, so it's time for another blend zone. This one's going to be pink mixed with orange. Remember, pink is just another version of red, so the two of them are going to mix well together. Putting that right underneath. Dry off your brush and sweep away the line. Just going to add a little more orange here to the bottom. Alright, so now we're doing our pure orange. And again, this pure orange is going to blend really easily with the orange-pink mix because they're so common to each other that blend is going to happen really easily. You can't even tell where we switched. Okay, the next zone. Again, wipe your brush off. If you definitely don't want any purple still hanging around in that brush when we introduce the yellow. So let's take orange mixed with yellow. Blend that in. And then the final little bit is going to be pure yellow, which will blend very easily to the orange that you've got above it. Just like that. So fiddle around with your blends, make sure they're nice and smooth. One thing that you shouldn't do at this point is start going back up into these colors. These are dry by now. They're not going to blend anymore if they haven't already. And then if you do that, you're going to start introducing yellow into purple, and those colors clash. They have nothing in common, and you'll end up with some weird, strange browns going on up there. So once you're down at the bottom, that will be it for the first layer. So that's your beautiful blend. This is just our background, and now I'll be able to walk you through the steps of how to put some sort of interesting silhouette on the foreground. And now it's time for you to get creative. So think of something that you would like to add to this beautiful background. We're going to be painting it in silhouette, so that means it is, oh, this is upside down. So that means the light is coming behind the foreground and it's blocking out any detail and color, so it's just going to be completely black. So as I showed you in the intro, I've done this one with a little hiker and his dog. You could do elephants, you could do a tree. I would look on Google Images for something that inspires you and do something that you're really interested in. For my demo, I'm going to do a giraffe. So I've printed off a giraffe picture and I'm just going to give it a simple ground at the bottom. So this will be painted entirely black. And then I'm just going to draw the giraffe on. You can draw with chalk if you have it, or with pencil if you don't. Chalk is a good idea because it's easier to erase if you make a bit of a mistake, right? Like say I were to make his neck not long enough or too long, then I could easily fix that. I'm just going to sketch that giraffe on there lightly with my chalk. So again, anything I don't like, I can easily erase if I'm doing it with chalk. pencil is going to be a little bit trickier. It's really hard to erase pencil off of this. So say I don't love how this is looking, I can just rub it off with my sleeve and adjust it. So once your drawing is finished, you'll be ready to just paint it in on a silhouette. If you are, for example, I'm just going to take this guy off and show you another technique for drawing. So say you are really not sure you can get that giraffe to look right. There is a way that you can cheat. So I would like you to try to draw it yourself, but if you're really having trouble, what you can do is print off your picture, flip it over, and rub all over the back with a pencil, like that. And you want to cover the whole area of the image. Maybe some of you have done this before. So I've just rubbed all over the back. And then buff it around with your finger to fill in all the cracks. So now what you can do is set your drawing right down exactly where you want it. So I want to make sure that the feet are right on the ground. And then you should probably tape it down. I don't have my tape handy, so I'm just going to hold it, and you got to make sure it doesn't move. So if you start drawing and then it moves and then you finish drawing, you're going to have big problems with that. So the second approach for getting that image on the canvas, rub the back with pencil, and then you just sort of trace over all of your lines from the front. So just make sure that now the picture is the giraffe side up and the pencil side is down. And if you press firmly, I mean, you don't have to press too hard, but you do have to press somewhat firmly. Trace all your shapes carefully. Like that. And then you see how I haven't moved it. So when I take this off, I have a perfect image of that giraffe in pencil on the canvas. So now I'll be ready to paint it. So using your black and working as carefully as you can, you're going to grab your nice fine brush that's got a nice point on the end. So again, the reason this paintbrush has such a nice pointed tip is because nobody has been mean to the brush. So when you're mean to the brush, you're doing things like this to it. For some reason, kids love to do this to paintbrushes. When you do that, I don't know, I guess it's fun, but look what happens to the tip. So even if I try to get this back in to a nice point, I'll never get that point back. Do you see how it's just all frayed? So this one has never been twisted around like that because everybody's been very nice to it. And then we've got this beautiful tip. So keep in mind just not to do that. All right, so the secret to working with these nice little brushes is that you paint with them pointing up. So not sideways the way you would write with your pen, but up really straight and tall. When you're painting with it up, so that means the handle is pointing straight up. When you do that, the tip is contacting the canvas as opposed to the sides of the bristles contacting the canvas. And then that allows you to have some nice control over your lines. So most people like to outline first because that's the scary part, right? That's the part that makes us nervous. But you could do this any way that you like. I'll just outline it, get that over with. And then I might switch back to my larger brush to fill everything in. So you just take your time to paint that nicely. Again, if you notice that you're starting to paint like this, because that's how you write with a pencil or a pen, just remind yourself that brush handle should be pointing right up at the ceiling, and you'll have much better control. And again, we're not squashing the bristles. We're being really gentle to keep them springy and to keep that beautiful little point on the brush. So I'll fill these in with my small brush. And then I'm just going to switch over to the big brush for the rest of it. just to save us some time. So even my big brush is standing nice and tall, pointing to the ceiling. And then make sure that you do some sort of ground. Like right now he looks like he's floating in the air. We have to ground his feet with a little bit of just some sort of landform on the bottom. If you're doing something like this, then it can be taller. Like you could even do quite a big mountain. You can be very creative at this point. You can pretty much do anything that you like. All right, so it's really pretty how that blended background lends itself to pretty much any kind of foreground that you might like to put in there. So then have some fun. I mean, I think this kind of needs just a few birds up there, right? You could even add a tree coming out of here, but maybe there's not so much room. If you had room, you could put maybe a baby giraffe. But yeah, do what you think will make your painting look the best that it can. And thanks for painting along with me today. I'm sure that they will turn it fabulously. And just remember, nice smooth blends all the way from top to bottom. Again, if you can send a photo of your painting when it's done, I would love to see it. Happy painting!